Hello. While I'd like this to primarily be a scuba diving channel, something that I spent a lot of effort figuring out in the last year was bringing an animal to Germany from Egypt. I know a lot of us go overseas and fall in love with adorable, fluffy dogs and cats and four-legged friends, and the process of getting them back to our home country can be a little intimidating. So I'm actually from Miami, but I have a partner that lives in Germany, and we started sort of transitioning our life to Germany. So I had to go through the process of bringing a cat to Germany, and he now has a EU passport and can travel throughout Europe freely. It was a success. I did it. So now I want to transfer that wisdom to you. So I'm going to be reading my notes and go over the process. So the first thing the animal is going to require, if you're bringing a cat from Egypt to Germany, or I think just bringing a cat to Germany in general, the first thing the animal is going to require above everything else is a microchip. So once you get that microchip, make sure that the microchip number is put immediately into a pet passport. Okay, all the vaccines and everything that your cat or your animal gets needs to go into a pet passport. So first and foremost, get the microchip. So the same day you get the microchip, you can actually get a rabies vaccine as well. It's very important that the rabies vaccine is given after the microchip. So make sure to record all of this in the pet passport. The rabies vaccine cannot come before the microchip. It has to come after the microchip. So once you have the microchip, you need to wait about a month for that rabies vaccine to develop potency in your cat or dog. And around a month is when you want to take the sample. So wait 30 days, and then you take a sample of serum that's going to be sent to a lab in Germany to be analyzed. So for me personally, I waited 30 days, and I'm living here in Dahab, Egypt, and I was lucky enough to have a volunteer that took this sample to Germany for me. So once it's in Germany, this process is going to cost around 50 euros, something like that. And once it's in Germany, it's going to be analyzed. Maybe this will take about a week or two or something like that, a few weeks. And you're going to be sent, you can be emailed a paper with the rabies serum, the titer, it's called a titer test, with the titer having been analyzed at the lab. And this is really important that you keep this paper forever and ever. So you can be sent a copy online. I know a lot of people have traveled with just a copy of the titer test that they were sent through email, but it is always best if you actually have a way that you can get the actual hard copy from the lab that is sent to a address in Germany back to you in Egypt or wherever the country is you're bringing the animal from. So it just looks a bit better, and I know I've heard of some people being turned away because they don't have this paper. Just ask around and see if you can get by with the email. There was a time here in Egypt where people were getting by with just the email. It may still be valid. It kind of seems like a case by case. So email the customs of the country, of the province, the airport that you're entering. So email the customs of the airport that you're entering. For me, it was Cologne. And I emailed them everything, making sure everything was approved before I entered the country. But anyway, just ask them, is it all right if I don't have the hard copy of the titer test and just have the email that was sent to me by the lab. So yeah, once you have this titer test, let me see here, you're going to have to wait, 3 months after the date the blood sample is drawn on. So you have the microchip already, you got the rabies vaccine, you waited 30 days, you had the sample drawn, and now from this date the sample was drawn, you need to wait 3 months to be able to travel after this date. So once the sample is drawn, you have this taken to a lab in Germany, but it's the countdown starts as soon as the blood sample is taken. So the other thing you're going to need after you've waited these 3 months, after you've gotten the paper back from the lab in Germany, the last thing you're going to need is a health certificate that's issued by a government doctor within 10 days of traveling to Europe or Germany with the animal. So I actually wrote to customs at the airport that I entered in and asked exactly how long I needed to wait, what was the window for this, and they did tell me, the airport in Cologne did tell me it would be 10 days before I travel with the animal. So I think the closer to the travel date you can get though, the better. So I think I got it about 2 days before I traveled from a government vet. So yeah, let's see. And so once we have all the paperwork, we have the pet passport with all of this recorded. I have the copy of the titer test from a lab in Germany. I have the official health certificate issued by a government doctor. We're going to need to get on a plane and fly to Europe or to Germany, right? Okay, so I actually traveled with Turkish Airlines. Turkish Airlines, I have a few little, some advice that could actually help with that, with booking the flight. So with your animal, so I actually did this by phone. I reserved the space for my cat by phone. So they charged me actually a $40 service fee because I didn't want to book the flight before I knew if the animal could actually come on this flight with me as a carry-on. So it was sitting in a seat next to me, or on my lap, not in a seat next to me, on my lap. But I have read people booking the flight and then their animal isn't eligible for the flight because there's another animal, the amount of animals on the flight is full or whatever, and they weren't issued a refund, and they couldn't like change their flight. I don't know, I read all these horror stories. So for me personally, what I did is I called Turkish Airlines, I explained the situation. They charged me a $40 service fee because I didn't want to book a flight ahead of time, but for me that was worth it. And they checked to see if I could bring an animal on the particular flight I wanted to. They sent me an approval when they found out, and then I booked that flight. So just call them and explain the situation and see. But I wouldn't book a flight that I want my animal to go on ahead of time before I know that that animal can actually travel with me. And again, I did this with Turkish Airlines. It's a little difficult to find their phone number. I guess I'll post the number I used below because that was just figuring out what number to call was pretty difficult for me, to be honest. So let's see what else here. They're going to need to know, Turkish Airlines is going to need to know the weight of the animal in the carrier, the size of the carrier, and the breed of your cat or dog. I can't remember exactly, so double check, but I think everything needs to be less than around 11 kilos or something like that. Double check the weight on the website or when you call Turkish Airlines. Because if it's above a certain weight, the animal will have to be stored with cargo, which is unfortunate. I wouldn't do that unless absolutely necessary. Of course, with bigger animals, with dogs, it is necessary. But yeah, so you're going to need to know the weight of your animal in the carrier and the breed. Yeah, okay. So my personal experience with traveling with my cat on the plane, it was fine. You know, I went to the airport a little early just to make sure that everything was good, getting my documents to the airline and having them like officially weigh my animal at the airport, because they are going to check probably the weight at the airport as well. They do have scales there, and we'll put your animal on it to make sure you haven't been bullshitting them. So make sure you're truthful about that. I didn't use a sedative or anything like that for my cat, and he actually was fine. I did bring pee pads that I put inside the carrier just in case there were any accidents. I think I brought some dry food, and I brought a little bit of kitty litter in a bag in case he needed to use the bathroom. So my plan was I'd just take him into the bathroom of the plane if he was giving me signals that he needed to use the bathroom, and you know, in like a little plastic bag or maybe a cardboard box that I could kind of unfold and put the kitty litter in there if he needed it. But honestly, throughout the process of the actual travel, he was a little overwhelmed by all the new sights and smells, and just wanted to hide in his carrier and not make any noise. So no sedative was necessary. We had no bathroom problems. I definitely kind of limited the amount of food and liquid I let him have, like you know, the night before we traveled. But yeah, everything was fine with the actual travel. I used a harness and a leash. Very important to make sure your animal is on a harness and has a leash when you're traveling. You are going to have to take your cat in and out of the like the little travel box that you have for them. It needs to be a soft carrier, I think, also. So like a soft little travel case for Turkish Airlines, at least, if you have them coming with you on the plane. So you do need to take them in and out at the security when they go through like when you put the soft carrier through the x-ray machines and everything. Your animal is going to come out of that in the airport, so make sure you have a good sturdy, like a good harness and leash. But yeah, no problems with the actual travel. It was surprising. I had a lot of anxiety, but everything was fine with that. So once we got to Germany, everything was fine. We arrived in Cologne, everything was fine. The next things I want to talk about are two things that maybe you should do once you get to Germany. Well, I don't know about the rest of Europe. I think everything I'm saying is pretty much true for the rest of Europe. Like especially when it comes to getting an EU pet travel passport, an EU pet passport. So one of the first things we did when we got to Germany was bring the cat to the vet so he could get this pet passport. And the pet passport essentially ensures that your animal can travel throughout the EU freely with no problems. It also has a health certificate in the back of it. Like leaving and coming to Egypt, honestly, I brought my pet back from Germany to Egypt, and we're actually going to be going back to Germany soon. But having this made the whole process of returning to Egypt very easy. This was all I needed to return to Egypt. It's just all you need to do is go to the vet with your animal and bring its other documents from the previous country, and I think I paid around 100 euros or something like that, and just get some vaccines, whatever the vet recommends, and make sure you get one of these. And one of the last things I did for Germany, which was really helpful and is a great program, is I got my cat signed him up for, I think it's like a free program, and it's called Tasso. I'll put the link below, but essentially it's like a website where you can put your animal's microchip number, and it ties that number to a particular number in its system, and this number in its system is tied to all of your information. So it's tied to your address and phone number and all of that, so it's really good if your animal goes missing Most animals in Germany are registered with this, so if your animal goes missing, someone will just like scoop them up, can take it to a vet or whatever, like type in the microchip number on Tasso and they can find your address or whatever. They will also send you a tag from Tasso for free in the mail. Yeah, so that's great. I think it takes like 2 weeks or something like that for the actual Tasso tag to arrive. So this is a really great service that I wish, you know, I'd like people to know about if you intend to bring an animal to Germany, because, you know, it could ensure that if anything happens to that animal, you will end up with it back in your hands. So yeah, let me check my notes to make sure there's let me see what I'm missing. Oh, something important is that the titer test from the lab that I talked about at the beginning of this video, you really need to make sure, if you ever do something like I did where you take an animal to Germany, then you take it back to Egypt or back to another country, and then you want to bring it back to Germany, you always need to make sure that the animal is up to date on its rabies vaccines. Always keep it within like the 1 year mark or the 3 year marks, like whatever the rabies vaccine is valid for. You want to make sure that you keep the rabies vaccine up to date. Because as long as the rabies vaccine is up to date, that titer test paper that you got from the lab originally will always remain valid. It will not expire like by the year. So make sure your animal is kept up to date, so that titer test paper from the lab is always valid. So if you do travel back to Egypt and you want to go back, you have proof that this lab thing has already been done, which is very important. And it honestly is so great that it always stays valid, because it does take about 3 months from the original sample having been drawn for you to be able to travel with the animal, which is a big headache. And it's really great when you can just get like a government vet certificate within the 10 days before you travel and go with your pet forever. In my case, with one of the animals having a EU pet passport, I'm not sure if it would actually need that official health certificate from the government vet, but because I am in Egypt, sometimes the rules can vary according to who you talk to, so I think I will get that if I travel again with my cats to Germany, just so I can leave this country safely with them with no complaints. But this passport does have a health certificate from a European vet, so that's something. But yeah, so the process, you know, I had to do a lot of research, and I'm happy to share that with you. And, you know, I'm sure many of you have traveled abroad to a beautiful place and fallen in love with an adorable little fur baby that you wish you could take home, but the process seems overwhelming. And if by chance you have a way to go through this process, it's not so bad. It takes time, it takes some months, but aside from that, it's very doable. Don't let this process stop you from taking an animal that needs your care and that you love home with you. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope this helps. I'll see you anyway. Bye.